Hold on
one
now.
second, otherwise we're going to get multiple audio. I fixed it, nailed it. Hello, welcome to the 40k Spy Center. I'm one of your triple.
What the fuck is this
Logan,
overlay?
what
What have
is
you done?
Logan, what is that?
You can't do that, Logan. Logan, take that off. Take that off.
Hello everyone, welcome to the 40k Spy Center. I'm your host Rob. I'm joined by, in my top left-hand corner, or somewhere on the screen, Nick Pert, the fit Nick, as everyone knows him. Hello Nick, how are you?
I am Nikos. I like to party with orcs specifically.
Specifically with orcs, me too. Also joined by Logan. Logan, how are you?
Excellent. Not as great as you guys are, but yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Lovely to
You're
see you.
not doing as well as your background either, sadly.
Not making that big T-Sports money like some influencers out here, you know.
True.
Just right there. We're also joined by Tom. Tom, what up?
I'm all right, mate. I'm doing okay. I'm just a bit riled, I think, is what I describe myself as.
Triggered.
No, just riled.
Just a
Riled.
complete snowflake over there, Tom.
Complete
That's,
snowflake.
we
And we're
don't-
joined by special appearance specifically for tonight. No, that's not true. That's not true.
We had it booked for a while. Okay.
It is. Don't come north of the border, Wilson. Hello, boss baby. How are you?
I am good. Thank you very much for having me again. And this is the perfect topic to be on. I'm very much here for this.
Oh, me too. Me too.
I'm trying to work out if this is north or south of the Antonine Wall. One second.
I'm just trying to work out
Probably-
who will burn the most
I'm going to
bridges today.
shoot north.
So we've
I'm more north of most things.
There's a lot to talk about today. Nick went to a 40k event of the weekend, and we should definitely cover that.
Yeah, you are.
The event.
The event of the weekend. Yeah, the event. Logan's got some thoughts. Innes thinks that all 40k codexes should be burnt, and no one should be allowed to read any more codexes. So we're going to talk about that at some point. And Tom,
I back him on that.
Tom wants to murder folk.
True.
Okay.
Not false. Not
So
false.
I don't know where to start.
With his words.
Other than on Saturday, I'm just going to get some news out of the way. News section real quick. Saturday, we're getting the first 40k roadmap of all time. Shout out to everyone in the Twitch chat. What do we think that's going to look like? I'm just going to throw that out there straight away. What does anyone think?
Orcs, Orc Codex, actual release date, Space Marines, and Space Marine Supplement. And that'll be it. That's the 3 roadmaps we're getting. And then Tau to annoy everybody.
Only books, just books. No models,
Right, yeah.
just books.
I'm ready for this one, okay? We're not going to get any 40k codexes. It's all kill team. There is going to be no problems, okay? Definitely not going to have a book a month for the next 9 months.
I think we're going to have a book a month
That's
for the
one.
month. And then we're also going to have a what's the word? A compendium. That's not the right word. Expansion. No.
Campaign
Thank you.
book.
One of those, right? All the time?
Every 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah. Every 2 weeks.
Hell yeah.
Someone tweeted.
If we're
We're
lucky, we
getting a
might
new
get
hat-trick
2 in
Army
it.
of Renown every month until we're done.
And they'll all be useless.
Someone tweet.
They've got to fit 2 years worth of books in 6
Yeah,
months.
100%.
To
Yeah,
catch
need
up.
to catch up. Someone tweeted me a couple of days ago for Captain's Clash, which is the events we run at the Honest Wargamer Arena, or TSN Arena, and they were like, "Hey, the Book of Rust hasn't done an FAQ yet, and we have a no FAQ, no play." They were like, "So what's the deal?" And I'm like, "Fucking, best you got to keep waiting."
Out of my hands,
It's out of my hands. It's not my fault. Like, what can I do? Anyway.
Poor Be'lakor. He gets rules and he still doesn't even have rules.
Oh, big oil in the chat.
No,
Thank you,
that's
Matthew.
we're talking about the Book of Rust. Bellacor's way down the line, bro.
Be'lakor had one yet.
Oh, Book of Rust hasn't had an FAQ yet either, has it?
No, Book of Fires. You might get that
Which
FAQ
book is
by
which book?
Christmas.
don't-
Bellacor's Book
Rust
of
is
Fire.
Hot Strife.
Yeah,
Be'lakor's
Rust.
Wait a
Hot
minute.
Strife.
If none of the campaign books get FAQs, does that mean we never use the
Now
campaign
you're
books?
thinking, Tom. Now you're
Hopefully.
thinking.
You guys.
Yes!
We hope.
That's the long-term solution.
No FAQ, no play. Thank you to Nurgle
Damn
Matthew for donating. Holy shit, 25 gift subscriptions.
26 in total. There's got another one in there
Gifted one
already.
to Logan.
What boss?
You cheap fuck. Why haven't you subscribed? You fucking dick.
To be fair, when you're managing that many Twit accounts, you need lots of subs.
Thank you so much, Nurgle Matthew. The wicket keeper strikes again.
Thank you, Noggle
Yeah,
Matthew.
thank you, Nurgle Matthew. Big love.
And congrats for all the cool stuff you did during Charity Hammer as well. I'm
I'm going to talk about that at the end.
Oh, and big up Innes for his amazing commentary. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. I meant to respond to you on Twitter, but you tweeted very early.
It was nice to hear someone that knew what they were talking about.
You were listening. No, you couldn't have listened to me then. Sorry.
Tell us what you did.
I did some commentary for Charity Hammer, so I did the finals of the Orc RTT they had, and then I also did the semi-finals with Nick and Jaime, and
2 rounds of Nick versus Jaime. It was fantastic.
Yeah, because it was done after that.
It was
and then,
fucking beautiful.
And then I did a bit of John and Hank as well for the semi-finals, which was really good fun.
Can I do my end of the show shout out now, actually, while we're on the topic? Because I want to talk about that a little bit. A couple of years ago, I criticised Charity Hammer because I have a background in charitable finance, for how they were handling donations and how they were handling some of the PR that they were doing as well, and explaining why I wasn't going to donate. But this time, in the way that they did it, they got it spot on. They started using Tiltify, which was really, really good, and they actually did it properly. So I just want to say big shout out to Charity Hammer for doing some great work, raising a lot of money for charity, and doing it properly as well. And it just shows that, you know, when you build something good, you can do a lot of work. So well done to those guys, regardless of any personal beef they have with me. I'm proud of them for doing so well.
Yeah, I think they just about hit 40k, so that was really well done.
Really well. Just really,
you don't really want it to go higher than 40k though. Like, that would become weird, right?
I'm pretty sure the sick kids wouldn't have minded.
No.
I don't think the sick kids would complain.
They'd still have an opinion. They'd be like, oh, we've raised 53k, and they'd be like, but you're the 40k group. Like, come on, sort it out.
The worst thing is that if they had raised 30k, they'd have had to play more Heresy. That would have been the worst bit.
That'd have been great.
When the fuck are they announcing that, by the way? Because that got the Horus Heresy box that got leaked before the big summer preview that we all thought it was going to be shown on the Sunday, and then we've just never seen it again.
Maybe part of
it got rolled into Kill Team.
Maybe part of the roadmap.
The 40k roadmap.
Okay. Well, let's start.
It's going backwards.
Let's dive into the first subject.
Oh my God!
Give it another one.
Nurgle Matthew, fucking hell! Jesus Christ! 50 gift subscriptions,
lads. I'm logging out of this account. I'm coming back into the chat on my other account.
On his second account.
Wait there.
Oh, he says the 40k roadmap is a lie.
You're probably not
wrong. You can
wrong.
make it a lie.
My favourite thing about Nurgle Matthew is he's fucking right in with us. He's like, they're fucking lying to us, lads. There's no roadmap. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
The roadmap is the Marines 2.0 supplements.
Yeah, there's going to be a Marine book every month for the next year. It's going to be great.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, you fucking absolute legend. Nick, you were at an event this weekend. What event were you at and how did it go? Tell us.
Well, I was at the event that everyone's been talking about this week, the Hellstorm Bolter event held in Sanctuary Gaming Centre in Mansfield. What do you want to talk about?
Can I start this off? Because some people, Logan, obviously you've never come north of, like, I don't know, fucking Shropshire or wherever that is.
Yeah, mate, never done a booking up there. Never in my life as a touring DJ have I ever been up north.
All right, fine. Fucking maybe you have. I don't know. Maybe you and fucking Stormzy and Plan B back in the early days.
Skepta and all them lads. Yeah, mate.
Right. My point was, for the... It seems this weekend the centre of the 40k universe was centred around this event. But if anyone has been to Mansfield, the fact that Mansfield was the centre for all 40k drama is...
Whoa, can we wheel it back a bit, mate? So, first of all, everywhere outside of London in the UK is the sticks. So Nottingham is the sticks, okay? Outside of Nottingham, you then have Mansfield, which is the sticks of the sticks. And then outside of Mansfield, you have Sutton and Ashfield, which is the sticks of the sticks of the sticks.
What?
With three levels deep.
With three levels deep. I once stood in Mansfield, and I was able to see 3 Gregs from where I was stood. 3. Like it's not like a London.
That's how people get bound.
That's very northern.
That's how they navigate.
The Sheffield record is 4. So
that's proper fucking northern.
That's really northern.
I mean, I'm in Scotland. I can see 6 from my window, guys. Step it up. And the beads. Like, there's everything.
Wait, Innes, where exactly are you in Scotland? Just a quick one.
I don't know.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
I am just outside St Andrews. So the posh bit, somehow. Just outside St Andrews.
Right, okay, lovely. All right, nice.
Oh, he's in posh fucking...
My brother went to university there.
I'm so sorry.
I'm just super into...
I bet you never had to hear the end of that.
I'm just a big fan of Fife at the moment. That's the only reason I bring it up. That's a side note. Right, anyway, Nick, you went to an event. Talk to me. Yeah. What happened? Where you at? Like, how was your time at the event? Because maybe overshadowed.
Well, yeah, nobody cares what I did at the event because there's a bigger story than
I
that.
care.
I care.
Nikos.
I care.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
so I took my Necrons. I took a list not too dissimilar to Dick's winning event list from the other week, where I had 2 to 20 warriors with chronomancers behind them, a command barge. Then I had 2 Doomsday Arcs, a Ghost Arc, some Wraiths, and then I had some heavy destroyers and a Destroyer Lord. So my aim was to go 4 and 2. I went 3 and 3, which was okay for me. Although I was disappointed my first day because I lost my first 2 games, and then won 1 game 3. So I played Terry with his Tau. My favourite moment from that game was using my Hexmark Destroyer to bait him into a corner, and then he deep stroked something else, and I whipped off my Hexmark Destroyer after suckering in one of his commanders to the corner and put him elsewhere. That was a nice little sweet move that I pulled with my Necrons. One of the reasons why I wanted to take my Necrons was because of those little crazy little moves that Necrons do have with like reanimation and other stuff, rather than the Death Guard that I had been playing previously at events, where basically I never went past the halfway line. I just kind of deployed in the middle, bits at the side, walked forward a little bit, and stood there. That was kind of it. Whereas I did a lot more moving around with my Necrons this event. I played Chris with his Volkite Dreadnoughts game 2 and lost that one. I basically lost it in deployment because I just moved up and sat in the middle basically for him to shoot me, which was a bad move. I thought my Necron Resilience would keep me alive enough to reanimate, but didn't really.
Those Volkites are crazy, right?
Orcs. Yeah, they're like 150 points for 16 shots, which is, and then you just get mortal wounds. It's a bit crazy.
Logo currently building them as we look, as we see.
Straight in there, mate.
Yeah, they're the hotness Marines right now. And then I played another Chris with his Orcs, which is my first win.
It is, yeah.
Yes. But interestingly, so the event had 4 different types of terrain that they were using. They were using like classic ITC, and then they had LG. I think it was LGT. Yeah. So ITC, LGT, Games Workshop, and something else. I think it was ITC.
WTC.
WTC. Sorry. Yeah. So there was. Yeah. So you had a 1 in 4 chance of playing on either of those. Over the course of the tournament, I played on Games Workshop 4 times. I think 3 times, and it was definitely the worst. Maybe that's just because Games Workshop have pissed me off so many times over the years that I'm just naturally
not allowed to like their terrain at all.
But like, it's just like four massive pieces of perspex with a bit of terrain on, and then 2 little bits at the side. Compared to the other terrain layouts, it was definitely the worst, I think, for just playing on. Game 4 and 5, I think, were my favourite 2 games of the event. I played Richard with his Space Wolves. That was a super close game where, what was the coolest thing? I thought I was going to lose. He pinned me and he had a couple of like the Invicta Warsuits. So I got pinned in quite early. He had 3 of them actually. So I knew I was going to be pinned in early. I had to fight my way out. But then on turn 3, I pulled a Hail Mary move with my Necron. So 20 Necrons in the command bars, like used the Veil of Darkness to go across the board and start attacking his, because I was just being defensive on my own 3. And then I got the charge, sat there for the rest of the game, so that ended up giving me the win on that one. That was a super fun game. But I think my favourite game was definitely against Sean with his demons. So he had like Be'lakor, Keeper of Secrets, and the Slanesh one. Loads of Demon X and Beast units and stuff like that. So quite a classic demon mixed demons list. And it was the one with direct assault. So they had the quarters deployment. You got 5 objectives. And you're basically fighting over the middle one mostly. Oh, thanks. Shout out to Innes for subscribing live on the show.
I like how 75 gift subscription and Innes is sat there like, am I getting one? Am I getting one, or am I going to pay?
I got my free sub. I'm not spending money on this crap.
Oh, fuck.
Mine says that I've subbed for 4 months, but they've all been gifted.
Hey.
People have been very generous.
Subscribing to, maybe.
We've got a great community. That's all that tells
me
me.
Too.
Mate.
Sorry, Nick. What are you saying?
That's right. Yeah. So it was fight in the middle, and I used my Ghost Ark and Doomsday Ark as the kind of like a wall in front of my warriors. He hit that wall. I retreated the wall, and then I pushed into the middle with all my warriors, and I kind of out obsect him for most of the game, apart from right at the end. And this was a really exciting game because I was down. I was bottom of 5, and I needed to score 26 points in my last turn to win, and I managed to score 20 fucking 7 points, which was amazing. Like working it out. Basically, I had to back in a Doomsday Ark to some Nurgle, and also stay on the central objective. Move up my Hexmark Destroyer, charge his hero, avoid the heroic intervention from the beasts, and not die. And he managed to like survive on 2 wounds, obsect their objective, got me max on the primaries. So that was a really nice win because it was just for basically all relying on just movement.
It's really satisfying, isn't it?
I didn't just like take some new cheese and blow someone off the table. It was like lots of movement and shenanigans going on. But then the last game I played, Ed with his sisters, and he had all the special characters, and they were just a bit too much for me. He went first, smashed into my Ghost Ark, Doomsday Ark wall, but he broke through it this time a little bit, and then I did another Hail Mary turn 1 Veil of Darkness with 20 warriors and
it was a big veil, that dude. I was impressed.
Yeah, right to his back line because he left a little sliver ready. But then later in the game, I made a big mistake where I shot a buff piece to his Repentia rather than shooting the Repentia, and then they charged me. Well, I tried to tank it with the Catacomb Command Barge, but they just fucked it up. So, yeah, so 3-3 for me overall. I quite enjoyed my Necrons more than I thought I would, and I think was I to play the tournament again, because I only had 2 practice games with them. If I was to play a tournament again, I think I would do better and I would change my list a little bit. But I did enjoy playing with them overall. It was quite challenging and fun, I think.
How much did you say the terrain affected the matchups?
Not loads. I'd say it just felt, every game that I played on non-Games Workshop terrain felt fine, just like a normal game of 40k that I'm used to. But the Games Workshop terrain felt like it played more of an impact in the game, just because it was awkward to play around, because it's just 4 massive bits in the middle. And the Games Workshop terrain itself, which Mikey was using, not just like replicating it, it's really, really tall, unnecessarily tall, I think. So it just made physically playing the game really awkward. Like I couldn't see past it easily. It was really tall, and who goes up 10, 12 inches into a tower anymore? Has anyone ever moved a model 12 inches into a tower?
It's kind of funny against knights.
Yeah, like in that specific situation, but like generally, like 1 or 2 floors in a ruin is fine, I think, for nowadays anyway.
Yeah, I'm interested. Just a quick one. Because this is a classic review of an event. How was food?
The McDonald's and KFC next door that I went to were pretty good.
Nice. Terrain, you've touched on that. You think the terrain was fine, adequate, medium, good even?
Yeah, it was interesting because they tried 4 different types, to see what people felt. I felt like at the end of day 2, I was like, right, I had 2 on Games Workshop and 1 on normal. God, and then my 4th one was on Games Workshop, so that was 3 out of 4 on Games Workshop, and I was like, ugh. I was a bit annoyed by that. But
it's when you define not being on Games Workshop as normal that it wasn't right.
And then finally,
we also need to ask how the
table height.
Not optimal.
Too low.
Too low.
Hand dryers.
There it is.
Yeah, they were fine.
Was it a Dyson or was it medium, like a paper towel situation?
I think it was paper towel and a very poor knockoff Mansfield Dyson.
Oh, okay. All right.
Dyson.
Hyson. Thanks, Minis, for gifting a gift subscription. That's super cool of you. Thanks, man. Big love to you. All right. Well, I'm glad you had a nice time. You think you take your Necrons to another event next or no?
Well, my plan is the next event that I actually play at, I'm planning, unless it's a massive one, I'm planning to take my orcs if I can get my orcs ready.
Yes. I built 4 rocket truck squig buggies over the weekend. Fucking awful. Took
Nice.
hours.
Wait a minute.
Hours.
You've managed to buy 4 Rockatox
I did.
buggies.
I did.
Where did you find these hallowed
Element
relics? Ah, of course.
It's-
That's where we're going.
Subsidiary of
yeah,
Gamesmanship.
a subsidiary of Games Workshop.
They're all on Manny's painting desk. What are you
Pardon
on
me?
about?
What are you saying this?
They're all on Manny's painting desk.
I think he's going more for the beast snaggers.
I'm going for the
personally,
beast
but-
snaggers, but I think 2-2s is fine,
Oh,
right?
you have a million points.
I think 2-2s is fine.
Mm.
Okay, well, I'm glad you had a good time, Nick. But Tom, you also went to said event, but Nick, you were there, so chime in when you need to.
I was
Oh,
there.
Yeah,
Where were you when
Where
this
were
happened?
you?
We'll all remember this day.
Nick.
Where were you when
Nick,
this
can
happened?
do you know the details in that kind of like?
So I didn't do the level. I haven't done, nor am I as good as Tom at doing this Warhammer investigative
Agreed.
reporting.
Agreed.
But I was there to soak up the spice on
The
the day like a
ambiance.
spice sponge, and hear the hubbub around the gaming
Okay,
hall.
perfect. My question is, just before we get into Tom's bit of it, were you part of the elements that were fermenting a walkout, or were you not in the walkout fermentation?
I do not believe that such a walkout was ever. The first I heard about anything like that, as someone who obviously went there and spoke to lots of people, was about 20 minutes ago in the Skype call. Was that a rumor was
Yeah,
circulating.
no, I heard,
as far as I'm concerned-
I heard from sources there was a walkout attempted.
Well, I
I
was
did
actually-
walk out
so
and get myself a KFC.
A couple of us did actually go to the nearest Wilco's to buy some pitchforks from
Perfect.
Wilco's. But then by the time we
yes,
got back to
yeah.
the venue, everyone had decided to calm down, so we went to return them back
fuck
again to get our money back.
I do personally recommend their Instant Bond brush-on super glue though.
Do you mean?
There's no way, never get that.
Product
You
placement.
want to get Mitabond stuff from
No.
Amazon? Go on. Sorry, what are you saying, Tom?
No,
Do you
this
mean-
shit with the brush.
Nick, do you mean that when you got back to the event, nobody gave a shit and made you return your pitchforks?
Yes. Well, no.
amazing.
Yeah. Well.
How
I
about
think
that?
What is
Did you
interesting
sell them to
about this
Reddit?
event that because being at the event, being a player at the event, I think it is interesting seeing the reaction that this has got from the internet Warhammer community, like how massively it's blown up and like it really didn't feel like a big deal on the ground, like being a player.
I know. How about that?
I was like, oh right, okay, well that's interesting.
But the memes,
That was
Okay.
kind of like my
the
reaction.
memes are fantastic,
So
though.
I'm good. I am going to provide all the
Okay,
context,
give us the
okay?
context, Tom.
So I was not playing at this event, so I'll tell you where I was and where I stand, and I'll tell you what's happened. I was not playing in the event. I went down because Scrivo and Sean and some of the guys from Hemel Hampstead were there. Nikos was playing, a couple of the Welsh players were playing, so I wanted to see how those guys were doing. And obviously I haven't seen many of my mates from 40k in a year or so, right? Because I haven't been going to in-person tournaments because pandemic.
You're not American.
And we're not American. Exactly. So I went down just to see everyone. So I came down, I think I arrived at around noon on day one. And I was there for a couple of hours. I had KFC with Scrivo and Nikos and those guys. Said hi to everyone. And then I came back for round 6 just to watch the final round. Because by that point, it's like the games have equalized a bit. You've probably kind of found the right level for you. You're playing your list, most likely. So I came down to watch Scrivo and Nick play because they're both Team Wales applicants. So luckily they're on the same row. So I was
Like
around-
Gareth Southgate sitting in the stands. I love
Exactly.
She was on.
Yeah. And Nikos was playing right behind him, which is perfect. So I just parked my chair. But also,
I'm part of the Team Sealand
you
candidates.
oil rig passport. You've got it sorted. We all know about it. So effectively what happened was this was a 44-player tournament, I believe. And it had 6 rounds, which meant that in order for you to win the event, it didn't matter on tiebreakers. There was always only going to be one player with 6 wins at the end, regardless, max. Okay. So you didn't need to worry too much about your VPs. Now, in the field, you had I suspected it would be quite a strong field to go into this one. I went for the other one, but you had, obviously, Nick was there. We had Alex was there. Tony Chu was there, who we've had on the WTC Squadcast before.
Tony Chu.
And Manny was Yeah. He was there playing Craft Worlds, mate. It was a big bottle. It was good. So Manny decided, going into it with his list, playing against the list that Alex and Chewie were running, that the best way for him to win games would be if he played them in rounds 5 and 6. So basically, he used the rule set to try and avoid those matchups until he got to the missions in which he had the best chance, right? Which isn't against the rules. It comes entirely down to a subjective value of angle shooting and sportsmanship, right? Now, I'm going to make my perspective on this very, very clear because I know what like you guys' opinions all are. I am doing a show with you guys on this where I think we're going to have one perspective. I'm going to do another show next week with some other high-profile guys who are going to have a different perspective. So it's definitely worth me making my perspective clear on this at the start. I'm friends with Manny. I'm friends with Mikey. I don't give a shit. I feel sorry for everybody involved in this situation. I understand Mikey's decision, and I support him in his decision because he did what he thought was right. I also understand Manny's perspective and why he did what he did, and I don't think that... I have seen a lot of fucking stupid and fucking malicious pieces of written works flying around the internet, be they comments, be they articles, whatever, flying around the internet for the last couple of days, but are fucking harmful and fucking awful. Accusing Manny of cheating and accusing him of being a bad person. It's fucking bullshit that anyone even has the gall to write this type of thing. I have got one specific article that came out today, that came out from a site that I'm not even going to mention the name of because I don't want to give it fucking credence. But it was basically talking about how the only way...
Wait, Tom, I'll tell him who it is. It's the Warhammer community site.
Oh,
it's the
mate,
Warhammer community site.
It's not the Warhammer community site. Not having that one. So, first of all, I read this article. I had to scroll out.
I can't believe Mike Brown would say that.
Why would he do it? Why would he do it? Just because we think the Nova pairing's rubbish? Why would he? Right. Anyway.
And why get Nick Nanavati involved in it? Why get him involved?
It was weird of them to put it in the player pack for the Orlando.
That's what I think. The fact they should have included it in there. It is. Yeah, you're right.
This is only the first group of people getting fucking hands, by the way, today. I've got a full fucking, I've got a bookmark folder full of people getting hands, and this is only the first person getting hands, okay? I am fucking livid today, dude, okay? So I've read this article, right? I had to scroll out to 67% on Google Chrome just so I could read the thing, because it's got a fucking font size larger than the sun. So I'm trying to read that thing. It's fucking horrific. He accuses Manny of cheating 3 times in it. What Manny did was not cheating. No matter what your definition, it was not cheating.
Mikey specifically said that as well, by the way.
Yes, Mikey said that in literally the video they collab with. In their own independent statements, they say that themselves as well. It was not cheating. The entire reason why Manny got a yellow card was for a subjective view of angle shooting. And therefore,
of the game.
Yeah, spirit of the game. It's not cheating. So from the moment you come out there and call him a cheat, you're a fucking liar and you're full of fucking shit. I'm not having it. Fuck you. Then we go through the 3 cheating counts that you repeatedly lie about. I'm not having that. That's a bollocks. And you use the same shit joke 8 times in your article to think that you're funny. Is this the peak of comedy? And then I fucking go into a certain Facebook group I love being a part of, by the way, where we just laugh at this kind of bullshit. And we have a peanut gallery, caw-caw, clapping like seals in the fucking comment section, as this is somehow the peak of comedy. How can you make a joke? Oh, funny the first time, maybe. No, it wasn't. Funny the second time? Absolutely not. Fucking 8 times, dude. Is this funny to you?
I mean, it's...
Okay, the situation...
The whole thing is funny. The whole thing is funny to me.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Fucking paid comedian over here, and you have the gall to criticize his list writing ability. When you're trying to fucking make an article, you want people to read, oh, I'm so funny, mate. I make the same joke 8 times. Look at me. Fantastic. Meanwhile, by the way, I'm going to go on that list writing thing in a second as well.
Can we talk about the fact that, like, it's all quite funny?
Fucking bollocks. Oh, yeah, it is quite funny until people start getting malicious and calling my mates cheaters.
By the way. What do you think? Shit. Oh, the article.
So badly written.
I'm talking about the situation. I think the situation's funny.
Oh, yeah, fine, the situation's funny, but the reactions I'm seeing from certain people on the internet are not funny. This is one of those that's not funny. He criticizes Manny for charging people money for writing a boring list. At least they're fucking legal. At least they work, mate. That's all I'm going to say. They're good lists. Fucking do worse than that, to be honest. Then he goes off. Says that some
I love how Tom's accent really gets stronger when he gets angry.
Oh, really northern.
Yeah.
You can tell how angry Tom is. Yeah, when it's 10 out of 10 northern.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean,
really cool.
Just to define.
Is this northern?
Yeah. There you go, that's proper.
Southern.
So he says that submarining's always been considered cheating. Bollocks. We've just never had the conversation. That's why we're having it now. That's why the entire internet is aflame with it.
Yeah, because remember how everybody blew up at Josh Death when he was doing that LVO a couple of years ago, instead of just saying it was really smart play. No,
Yeah.
everybody totally got really mad at him. Now, I would say if you're doing something that Josh Death was doing, probably shouldn't be doing it. But
to be honest, I
nobody
didn't know
was
that Josh Depp was doing it. I don't even remember that situation because I don't follow the VNA meta because it's shit. Anyway, carrying on. That's fine. He also just drops in a random comment about certain people having the most punchable faces in Warhammer. Of course, reuses that joke more than once as well, doesn't he?
slags off Mikey for no reason, which was kind
Yeah, he
of
just calls Mikey. Yeah, I don't know what he's done that for. He calls Mikey semi-spineless when what Mikey did was effectively DQ the most famous player in the UK right now for something that is subjective. In what definition is that spineless? That takes balls.
He called Mikey a clickbaiter as well, I'm pretty sure. And I'm like, you wrote this article.
I can't defend Mikey. Mikey is a clickbaiter.
No, neither can I. But I mean, like, you're going to call him out for it in your article? Clickbaiting?
I'm not, like, Salt and Sassy, yeah, fair. I mean, I am defending my mates, but I'm not defending them because they're my mates. I'm defending them because I think that this kind of bullshit is just hard.
Well, can I just say something, like, in the whole scenario, like, just to throw some, because I don't know Manny. I think I met him one time maybe at like a London GT like years ago or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think he did anything wrong. Like, he just like was smarter than other people. Like, I said this before on Tuesday's show. I was like, imagine you're good enough for 40k that you can just fucking design your way through to the fucking end. Yeah. Like, everyone, like, who was there? Like 44 dudes. So there's like Nick, this guy, a couple of other guys. Everyone else is just fucking holding their dick in their hand, trying to move their models around. Like, just chill.
Yeah. I mean, I just see people like this, mate, just going out there calling Manny a cheat when he's objectively not a cheater, and it's just going to harm him. Fucking hell, man. There's no reason for that. You don't know shit about what's going on. In fact, when you have to explicitly lie repeatedly in your shitly written article full of shit jokes that you then repeat for maximum shit effect.
What do you think it is about the whole situation?
The whole situation, or just the bit that Tom was raging about?
The entire article was
the whole situation.
Okay, so, I'm going to ignore the article because that's not real. I don't think I agree with what Manny did. I think Mikey should have punished him at the time, but I also don't think Mikey was fully aware of the circumstances that were going on, and that a retroactive punishment is fine. If you're a TO and something goes on, like if you found out that somebody was cheating in round 1, like if it had actually been cheating in round 1 and you punished it in round 4, you wouldn't like get crap for that. I don't think sportsmanship should be viewed. It's not the same thing as cheating, but I don't think it should be viewed separately. They are both part of the game, and they're both something that we should expect TOs to uphold. And I don't have an issue with that. I think Mikey's response could have been more timely, but I appreciate the way that he went about asking respected individuals for their opinion before he dealt out a punishment. I understand that it's disappointing to get a retroactive punishment, but sometimes it's the only course of action. I think the biggest thing about it is that it just reflects badly on the game, especially all the controversy that's come out of it, the amount of just bad faith actors, the amount of white knights on both sides. Everybody's getting really riled up over this for nothing. It doesn't do anybody any good in terms of like legitimizing the game, where we have this kind of controversy coming out over what is functionally nothing. The best thing that's come out of it is that we are now seeing a lot more discussion on game scoring and whether we should use stuff like win path to victory, game win percentage, whatever it is, as a tiebreaker instead of battle points. Because coming from the 20-0 system, I can't stand win loss draw with battle points as tiebreaker. I do not enjoy it at all. I don't find it very fun. So if win loss draw system moves away from pure battle points to anything else, then at least something good will come of this, and I will chalk it up as broadly a positive.
For what it's worth, Dennis, I don't disagree with you on any of that, mate.
What do you think, Logan?
It's a tough one, right? Because what Manny did was a macro version of things that people do in game, right? To get a beneficial situation within the rules, using technically legal interpretations of the rules, right? I don't see that I see that as a flaw in the rules and the pairing system that needs to be addressed more so than and that's closer to a flaw in the pairing system than it is to cheating. Like if I was to put it in two things, because to me, I see that as a macro version of I'm basing you with two of my guys. I'm going to kill 3 of your models. I'm still in combat. I've got more Veins Agonizer. You can't I could have wiped a unit if I wanted to, but I'm not going to because I want to be in combat with you in your turn. You can't fall back, and my unit survives. Thanks very much. Cool. It's an advantageous situation for me. I've not done as much damage or scored as much as I could have done, but for a future situation that's more beneficial. I generally don't see a huge difference between that, right? However, this game that we play only functions on a social contract because it is not written in a way that is conducive to following the rules by the letter of the law. We need to have a social contract. It's really important. And when you encourage people to because this is encouraging, like if he'd have got away with this, he would have been probably celebrated by a lot of people for doing it. It would have encouraged people to do it more. So it is setting an example. So I understand the need for it to be punished heavily to discourage people from using tactics and strategies which are basically contrary to the spirit of the game being played. And I feel over time it would lead to a deterioration in the game being played at a competitive level by people that actually know what they're fucking doing.
It propagates a race to the bottom as well. In that if some people are saying was like every top player does this. If every top player was doing this, we would see it more. Like it happens on a micro scale. Like you see maybe people drop a couple points here and there because they've looked at the PCP result. That happens. I get it. It sucks too. That's harder to track than something as obvious as this.
Yeah.
If everybody was doing it, we might have seen, like, it's very possible that Alex or Tony or something could have just, well, I think I beat Manny really well in mission 2, so I'm just gonna table my guy and then also score a 45, and then we'll definitely play. It very much could have led into that kind of game theory situation where if they both wait, like you just time out your game, wait until the end of turn 5, hold it out, wait until one of them submits, and then you end up in this really weird, awkward game theory situation where if everybody's doing it, it just becomes even worse. I don't like the using in-game. I don't like using in-game things to translate to out-of-game advantages. I think everything that you do should be done on the table or off the table and nothing in between. I think there should be a clear separation for that.
Regardless, you're always going to be doing that, right? For example, if you score like big in your game, you should have an incentive to do that because you'll have an out-of-game advantage, right? Which is why I like the system that I wanted to do. And me and Rob had a discussion about it a couple of days ago. I think what I wanted to do was I mentioned a system whereby, let's say you have 64 players at an event. Okay, in round 1, everyone just plays randomly. In round 2, person in first place plays person in 32nd place. Person in second place plays person in 31st place. Now, Rob said that was Dutch Swiss. Now, I actually researched Dutch Swiss, and it's not quite the same. So let's say, for example, in Dutch Swiss, what you do is, let's say you had those 32 players. What would happen is first would play 17th. Second would play 18th, third would play 19th. So it's not quite the same, although that doesn't necessarily mean anything because it's all about how people interpret it.
Yeah,
right?
You pair half the way down rather than all the way down.
Because the reason why you do that is it now incentivizes you to score as highly as you physically can to get what Manny was hoping to achieve in the first place, right? I don't think aiming for that is necessarily a bad thing. It's the fact that people perceived it as you are making the individual micro game anti-competitive in order to further your own competitive advantage, right?
I think the main
can I just finish very quickly? Because when I was talking to Rob was saying that the chat didn't like it. I want to see the chat criticize that method of doing it because I want to see where that's bad or what's wrong with that so that I can understand it because I can't see from my own perspective why that's not.
So what
a
you're
good way of
effectively
pairing.
saying is because someone's incentivized to try and play as well as possible, right? So that
score as highly
as possible,
which they're currently not.
So that they end up higher in the bracket, so they get an easier next match.
Yes.
Yeah, which
you should not end up with a harder match because you played better in
played
round
better,
1, because you do therefore incentivize submarining rather than excellence.
Which is exactly what happens in Battle.
Whereas
the thing with the Dutch Swiss is that if you're in that situation where it was if you like one place 17, you'd be incentivized to like drop still because if you're in 17th place, you're incentivized to drop a few to go down into like 3rd or 4th or 5th, right? So it still leaves that incentive in place. It doesn't remove it. Which I think is probably not ideal if you're trying to devise a system that removes it. I personally think just having like everybody just pair them randomly, like just don't incentivize it at all. is probably
Okay,
better.
so I feel like that's subjective then.
So we've been through. I've been through this conversation quite a bit in the Age of Sigmar community at the moment because we have obviously like a win-loss draw for first bracket, but we don't have like a differential system for the second bracket. Like, it's been a really good ongoing conversation between me, a bunch of different TOs running stuff all over, people from other places in the country, in the world. Like, what's the conversation? And it feels to me like the best one is differential, because the thing that you're trying to achieve there, Tom, effectively, like, is you're trying to stop submarining, which I feel like is the conversation. You're trying to stop submarining. Differential is really, really positive, because it does two different things. One, if you're beating your opponent, you have to keep beating them more to get a higher differential difference. But also, if you're losing, which we never talk about this enough, I talked about this on Tuesday, if you're losing, it gives you something to play for. Like, losing, like, giving you a positive to losing, I feel like should be something that's really put into even a competitive environment / sport / thing.
100%.
Well, that's what the WTC 20 format does, right? It gives you always something to play for. It's what we use up in Scotland for our singles events. Like, we just don't pair on wins at all. You pair on pure differential. It's different, and some people don't like it, and that's fine, but it works for us.
We had this conversation with Aceface a couple of years ago when it was just me, you, and Aceface, Rob, where we had like a discussion between ITC versus ETC format and which was better. And one of the points I made for him before he could do it was that ETC, or WTC now as it is now, creates a system whereby you're incentivized to take smash armies that score big, right? But I also had this conversation in the Welsh WhatsApp group earlier. It was like, what would you prefer? Would you prefer to turn up and play a game where my opponent's army might smash me, but I'm still fighting for points, and there's still a chance I can win this game? And even if I don't, I've still got something to play for. Or would I prefer to play against an army where I have everything on the board and I'm still playing the game for 5 turns, but ultimately I have nothing to play for because I'm going to lose inevitably anyway, and I can't even score points because they don't matter to me? And neither of those are wrong, by the way. It's all subjective at the end of the day.
Yeah,
so,
I think.
But I want to get Nikos on this as well.
Yeah,
by the way.
yes, same.
Nikos,
Can I just finish just a point? Is because I think the conversation is always about the winners. It's always about the people. Like, we always have conversations. How do we make it best for the people who are going to go 5-0, or 6-0, which at an event is going to be almost no one. Like, that's the math. Whereas the other 100 or so games that are happening at an event, like half the field are basically irrelevant round 1. Yeah, like they all half lose, they're irrelevant. Yeah, so how do you then engage them for another 4 rounds? Basically, if you've designed a system that only works for maybe 1 or 2 people that end up going through the bracket, and because the sorts of people who have the conversations are either very good gamers or B, really only talk to people who generally tend to do very well at tournaments anyway, you get, in my opinion, a skewed conversation at the top. Like, so I think that giving something for people who are losing and who have lost the opportunity to, like, claw points back, I think that's great. Like, even, like, you're playing against someone who's like a baller. Let's say I'm playing Nick, and I often get my ass kicked by Nick, yeah? Like, and I'm losing. Now, I could just, like, fucking roll over and die, or I could be like, do you know what? Nick's not getting all the fucking points. He's getting 19-1, and I'm having that 1 fucking point, and it's mine. Yeah, right? As opposed to just rolling over and letting him have a 20. And I think that that's something fun to play for, in my opinion. Nick, after you, what do you think?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, speaking of irrelevant losers, I was at the event, and I did lose 3 games and won 3. So this conversation is probably very relevant to me. So I do like
the fat middle.
Yes, I was in the big fat middle. Yeah. So I do system because, like you say, it gives you something to fight for at the top and the bottom of the table. So I'm all in favour of that. And yeah, the conversation is a bit too complicated for my brain because there's loads of different scoring systems that are quite complicated to wrap your head around without properly thinking about it. But I feel like the 20-0 system would eliminate the problem of submarining.
Yeah, anything that brings in
big, right?
differential. Anything that brings in differential. It can be 20-0. It can be straight BP differential. Anything that brings in that, I think, is useful for pairings. And then you can go down as well, because I do like strength of schedule. There's flaws in strength of schedule because of drops, obviously. We don't really have as big a problem with drops here as they do in America, but it's certainly a conversation to be had. But there's loads of ways you can look at it. But I think certainly this top table pairing system that we have currently doesn't stand up to being gamed, and we need to look at things that hold up better to being gamed as we move forwards in a more structured, competitive, worldwide scene that we all want, So,
and I think the fact is, like, the conversation about, because Innes, you were saying in Scotland, it's always the differential is the secondary, right?
No, we play pure 20-0 format, so we don't use wins in terms of events. So if you scored 114, so like the event we were at, I scored 104 points over 5-1, and someone else scored 97 points and 6 wins, but I won the event because I had more.
Fascinating!
Yeah, so it's just straight up. It's whatever. It's just straight up. The 20-0 is the only score that matters. We don't track wins in that sense.
Yep.
I don't like that.
Yep.
And that's fair. It's just a different format.
Yeah, that's fascinating. It really is.
Because
we've got enough events now that you can do that as well, right? We've got so many events going off. Why can't we have different formats everywhere?
I hear that.
It creates different win conditions in a game. So like I went into the game knowing I couldn't win because it was a terrible mission and a horrible. I got like the Manny situation where I was in the worst mission I could play against an army I don't beat, but I still had a win condition because I know I just have to stay ahead of the guy like in the overall standings. I need to get 7 points out of the 20 to stay ahead, and that gives me a way to play the game without having to just play like an idiot.
It really incentivizes taking Smash builds, though, right?
It does, but also Smash builds tend to have bad matchups as well. And if you get that bad matchup and you don't have the ability to play out of a hole, and you don't get that Smash, you get a 0. Whereas like you can build a more nuanced list and get that 5 or that 6 that gets you more points overall for the event. Even if
I'd rather play into a. Sorry, you got Logan. You're fine.
I said, is getting 5 or 6 in a loss, but 15s across the board or 16s across the board in your wins. That's not better than just getting 20s in your wins, though, and that's the only thing that I don't.
Because if you get 4 20s and 2 0s, that's going to do worse than like 4 15s.
I mean, you're talking about getting. It's hard to get 0s in this game, bro. Like it's.
But no one's going to get 20s, though.
Yeah, exactly. So even building a Smash list, it's hard to get a 20.
To be honest with you, the 20-0 system I like a lot better now for this edition, because the game. Like there's more you can get tabled and win in this game. Like it's very, very likely that you can do that. It's a lot closer. The game lasts longer. I feel like you're in the game longer. So I definitely like it better in this edition, more so than I did in 8th and 7th actually. Yeah. So yeah, cool. But just in my brain, the idea of someone that went 5-1 winning a tournament over someone who didn't lose just feels wrong for
it's
me.
Just because it's not the win isn't a thing that it's considered in the format, right?
Yeah.
He got 13 points, I got 7. It's not that he won the game and I didn't. We got those respective points, and that's what goes to the standings. It's just a different mindset.
Again, having just been through this conversation,
it's like winning from the losers bracket, right?
I've been in this conversation a lot at the moment.
I know that,
and I think one of the things that has really struck home to me. Because I've been having it about Age of Sigmar, not 40k, although obviously 40k's had this conversation this week, is that we really just don't look at how we even reward scoring anyway. You got first place. Okay, what did you get? You're I got 1 point extra than the guy below me, and I know those 1 points are hard fought for. I recognise that, yeah, but I think in a game of luck, because dice is effectively that, and I know you can move your luck around. But I think we should have conversations about how we really talk about some of these brackets and a winning bracket. I would like to see more than I would like to see first places, because I think that's quite interesting. And I think the differential is really important. I think the differential is so key. For really defining how a match went. You won by 1 point, it's a big W. It's a win. Yeah, whereas there's a big difference between that and 20-0ing someone, like you say, and almost impossible, to 20-0 someone. And the differential between those, and the reason I think it's really good off the back of this conversation, is because you can't mitigate it. And both players have something to play for. Whereas if you're just losing, it's just 0. You've just lost. Like, just fucking pack up and shake hands. But then the ITC code of conduct says, no, don't do that. Don't pack up and shake hands. What? You're forcing, like, instead of writing a system for me to have fun for 3 hours, you're instead saying, if after 45 minutes it looks like you're about to take a dick in, just fucking bend over and take it for the other 2 hours. Like, it's a terrible weekend that you have planned for people, in my opinion. Like,
yeah, giving up would be against the spirit of the game, and we wouldn't like that.
No,
would we?
giving up would be against the spirit. So you have a shit time.
You have to get table in 50 minutes by AdMech and then watch them walk off the objectives because you're not worth scoring 100 points against.
Anyway, so I think
I got 5 points out of it.
He didn't even bring his whole army in.
Nope,
He left like a third of his army in reserve.
So anyway, nerf
that would be a great
harder.
segue into Innes's piece.
That's a great segue.
But I'm not sure, Tom, are you finished? Do you feel comfortable with where you're at with what you've?
Oh mate, the hands are going at other, like, no one in this situation is getting any hands apart from JP Mowat, by the way, the fucking admin of competitive 40k. Who fucking drops his own last word in there, locks a thread because he's a pussy bitch who can't fucking take criticism. And then when people start reporting his post to him and criticizing him, he bans those people, makes another thread criticizing those people with screenshots in there, and then changes the rules to say, if you don't like competitive 40k, we will remove you from the group. You don't like competitive 40k, mate.
I don't think
do any of us like competitive 40k? Like, I'm not sure that all 5 of us even like competitive 40k. If I'm 100% honest,
mate, by his definition, I fucking hate competitive 40k. If he's the type of people I'm going to be playing with.
Nick, do you even like competitive 40k?
No part of that guy.
I've been writing a Warhammer Fantasy 8th edition list today.
Fucking hell!
Can I play you?
I'm down, mate.
Genuinely been doing.
Let's go play T9A on those flat boards with printed out laminated sheets of terrain that aren't even 3D. Let's do it. I'm into it. Let's go.
It's okay because they voted for that.
All right, so
they did.
So the thing that I think is most funny about this whole situation.
Anyway, fuck that guy.
The thing that's funny about this whole situation, which leads into Innes, is that the game is. And some of Nick's experience. Nick, did you play the AdMech or one of the games? Like, was it?
No.
But
no, I didn't play AdMech.
But
I didn't play Jakari. I played one of the new books. I played Sisters.
How was that?
I felt it was really just the special characters that just felt a bit over the top. It was like, oh right, they do what, and they do this as well. For how many points? Are you sure? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like they give
So
full rerolls to
bodyguard
what?
are not okay.
Well, so the reason I think this is funny is that the game is fucking cooked. We talked about this on another show, but like I'm building.
I wish I was cooked right now, mate.
I'm building 40k models. I spent the weekend fully aware that it is a broken game, building models to play it. Yes, maybe I'm an idiot, but I love the game. I want to play 40k. I want to be involved in playing it, but it's cooked. It's fucking fucked. And so Innes has some ideas. Cue our guest.
Okay. So this is the entire reason I was asked to come on.
And you go, Innes.
I was talking about this on Twitter, and as Tom knows, I do love a good Twitter rant about game design and theory, despite having absolutely no backing, nothing to back this
I'm
up.
going to post Innes's
really
Twitter in the chat because Innes's Twitter feed is the most underrated Twitter feed on the platform.
Okay.
You should follow him on Twitter. It's even his Discord tagline. Follow me on Twitter. So perfect.
I have opinions on how you should balance armies. And the way I prefaced this on Twitter was I said, sometimes there are just strategies in games that shouldn't be allowed to be good. And when they are good, the only response is the nuclear option. And you should take that. And you should not do what Games Workshop did and take tiny little micro steps of upping like a stratagem cost by 1 and increasing raiders by 10 points because that's not good enough. So, nuke them. You take an army. If it's too good, if it's sitting on a 65% win rate, if it's sitting on a 55% win rate, 55 is too high, guys.
Thank you, Innes. Thank you. Please, can someone
ground and buff it back up later when it's not broken?
Can we, Logan? Can you I want to come back to what you're saying, Innes, and repeat it again. Logan, can you talk about like above 55% win rates in any sort of like fucking sport or like esport or anything? Because it's wild, right?
I mean, obviously, it's irrelevant in sport.
Yeah.
For a start, so let's throw that off the tip. In balanced competitive gaming, from esports perspective, anything above 55% is significantly detracting from the enjoyment of playing the game. And obviously, esports are monetized by volume of people playing. Now, Games Workshop don't have to care about that because they make their money from idiots like me. You can't even see it anymore.
I screw some money, actually.
Let me turn this fucking thing off right now, just so you can see. Look. Right. Fucking idiots like me that have shelves like this. Right? That's
that
how
looks similar to my Google Drive.
Yeah, it looks.
I've seen a website that
Sorry.
So they don't care about that percentage being detrimental to the enjoyment of playing because they make their money selling the physical thing, because they have collectors and idiots like myself. But in esports, you don't buy specific units and what that. Like there's no pay to win in esports because again that would be a ludicrous idea and would fuck the game and no one would want to play it.
I've played Hearthstone, mate. I disagree.
You reach a point in Hearthstone, yeah, like there's no pay to win in Hearthstone. There's certainly the cost of Hearthstone is £300.
It is true, yes.
To actually play competitive Hearthstone, but that's like in Magic, you just buy the deck and that's it.
Oh yeah. Which is fine.
So yeah, 55% is an abomination. The fact that they nerfed Drukhari already and they're still at mid-60s. They're holding real strong at mid-60s. And those two factions are so far ahead, by the way, because I think it's Dark Angels that are next with like 55, which is too high as well. Dark Angels and Death Guard are like at least 10% behind. But I don't know where Sisters are actually. We don't have enough data.
I think Sixers are next. And then like it tends to be like a flavor of the month army bounces up and down. Like you'll see like Deathwatch will spike up 1 week. Next Eldar will bounce up. So the third army tends to be pretty variable just on what's good into the top two because they have such a meta depressing effect.
It's effectively those two books that are just fucking the game, pretty much.
So basically, to go back to the point I was making, now that we've got the context of 55% is too high, and these books are sitting in the 60s and 70s on some weekends. When you nerf an army,
dude, holy shit!
Yeah, it's like 77% of like let's go to 4-0. When you have an army that's that good, or any army, so this is, and to preface, this is what happened to Gene Circle in 8th edition. And I'm going to advocate for that, and it's going to sound really dodgy because I play Gene Circle, and I know Tom is not happy with the state of Gene Circle.
I played one great fucking tournament with that list, mate, and then Games Workshop fucked it in the ass.
Yeah, so really that's the right way to balance an army when you work on Games Workshop's timescales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because Games Workshop give us one nerf maybe every 6 months. We get chapter approved every whenever it is. I think the schedule's changed now, so it's like now summertime, and then we might get like a January FAQ, and we might have a new codex, and that's about it. So on the glacial timescales that Games Workshop work on, we are not likely to see another Drukhari nerf potentially until next summer. Mm-hmm. We might not see an AdMech nerf until next summer as well, because that is the next time in the schedule that there is definitively points changes. This isn't like an esport where like League of Legends has a patch every 2 weeks. When you have an army that is the state they are, you take the nuclear option on them because you don't have recourse of Games Workshop on the schedule they work on will not come back every month and tweak AdMech down a little bit. So they're at 70% this week, and then we'll nerf them. Okay, that nerf only did a little bit. It took them down 3%. They're still at 67, and then another one, and then another one, and then like six nerfs down the line. 6 nerfs down the line could be 5 years away. For AdMech.
Yeah, if I can give,
could not see AdMech balanced for half a decade.
If I can give an example real quick, so like in Age of Sigmar, like there's like I know it's a 40k show, but it's a good example for me. The Eidolon, so they specifically they had the big turtle for Idneth Deepkin, so everyone's seen, right? Like they over the course of the 4 years of the book. Before it got a War Scroll rewrite, so a datasheet rewrite, it went down like 10 points. It was a model that was like 400. It started out like 450 points, right? It was like 10 points. Next 6 month your yearly update, 10 points. Like, and then like 4 years down the line, it just got a datasheet rewrite. Just got a whole datasheet rewrite because it fucking needed it. And those 10-point increments, like you're saying, Ines, They did nothing. The balance of that army changed zero. Oh, I mean, effectively stayed at a 60% win rate for nearly 4 years, and at some points it went higher, but it was all good. But the army composition never changed. Like, it didn't change in any way. Even mission changes didn't really affect it. So, like, I agree with you. Like, based off that and a bunch of other, like, examples that I could fucking list, I super agree. But please continue. Like,
So the basic principle that I would go with when you have an army like this is nerf them and aim for a 45% win rate, because a 45% win rate is still vaguely playable. Casuals will probably not notice because it's not really a thing that affects them. They'll get less stuff. They'll probably be happier.
They'll have more fun with it.
Yeah, they'll get less stuff, so they'll have to buy less stuff to put their army on the table. And the game isn't ruined for everyone else for the time period that you're nerfing them. Because if we have to go through, what was it? It was like September 2019 until for like a year we had AdMech that were just completely insane.
Iron Hands, you mean? Or
yeah, Iron Hands. We had Iron Hands, and they were basically ruining the game for that entire period. They weren't quite, and then we had Eldar Plains that did about the same thing, and they got little incremental. Yeah,
here's a great example, dude. Yunari for the entirety of 8th edition.
Fucking hell!
And they get incremental nerfs, and it doesn't change anything because the people who are playing them are getting better with the army over time. They know what to do. They find more optimal things. They find better ways to react to the meta. And a small hit doesn't change how good an army is enough, unless it's to like core pieces. Like if you took AdMech and you just put Skitarii Rangers up to 15 points a model, which is where they should probably be, that would probably hit the army down to about a balanced win rate. But nobody wants to hear that because when you say to an AdMech player, I think you should have 700 less points in your list, and then you might be balanced. They're going to be annoyed at you, and I think it's like fairly understandable.
Are you telling me all my wins aren't pure skill?
We had that.
Are you telling me that?
We had that.
Yep.
And all we were saying was like Drukhari
skill
about 10%. Like the Drukhari list needs to be about 2,200 points.
And people
which is probably too low. Like Cult of Strife on Relource was probably like, at least 2350, 2400s worth of stuff because they could just trade all day and it was impossible for them to trade down. Impossible for them to trade down.
You would suggest stuff like, I think you should put 15 points, 20 points. I think I said 30 points on Raiders would have been fair. And they went up 10 and people were like, this is a fair nerf. And now you still see 9 Raider lists because they're still insane. And Incubi are still everywhere, and nothing.
So the really interesting thing is, right? Because we had this discussion when Drukhari came out on the show, talking about this. If you take Raiders and you take Space Marine and Pulsars, right? If the rules are still really fucking good, you'll find a way to fit it in the list. If the rules are shit, you're dropping it immediately. Impulsor hasn't got fly anymore. Doesn't have a 4++. No, we'll go to Vanguard Veterans actually because they have the rules that I need. Raider, it's still got really good fucking rules and great stratagems, and the loadout that I require, it's got 11 slots in there. It's got a heavy weapon. I can use this and that on. Excellent. I'll pay the extra points. Obviously, there's a cap. There's a ceiling that you'll reach, but in the way in which Games Workshop balance, it's very unlikely that they're going to get anywhere near that ceiling. Whereas when they start rewriting data sheets, as they do with a new edition or a new codex, that's when they fuck things up. But this method of doing stuff, it's very hard for them to fuck things up with very mild FAQ rewrites and very mild point adjustments. Like a succubus being 60 points is mental, absolutely mental.
If they had a monthly balance update or every 3 weeks or every 6 weeks, it would be this way it would still suck for that period of time, but it would be better, right? Because you would at least get to see that there was change coming, and you would know I've only got to get through another 6 weeks of AdMech, and then they get another points update, and that's 6 weekends of events that are going to be absolutely crap. But you at least know something's coming. Right now, we have seen AdMech have been nerfed. This is what Games Workshop thought they needed to fix the AdMech problem, and I'm not going to go out on a limb here and say that it's not. Just really stretching it here to say that I don't think that the nerfs to Ironstriders losing the 40 rules they lost from core has even made Ironstriders a fair unit yet. So this doesn't work on the schedule the Games Workshop works on. If they had a faster schedule, this would be fine. But as it stands, they need to do what they did to GSC, because GSC had a fundamentally unhealthy playstyle. There was no way you could make that rule set balanced, right? It was either going to be good enough to come out of reserve on turn 2 and 3 and table you, and then score points at the end.
Turn 1 of that book, holy fuck!
It was going to do nothing. Those are the only things that list could do. It could table you in 2 turns, or it would die a slow death as it failed charges. You can't balance that. So that's why AdMech had to get, or Gene Circult, sorry, I have AdMech on the brain, had to get fundamentally nerfed and rewritten. And I don't think Games Workshop found a way to rewrite the army to make it interesting. They tried with Achilles Ridge Runners for a bit, but that just made it guard and funny hats.
Massage Returns just mentioned, what if sub-factions had a points handicap premium?
iOS?
No.
So for me,
Do they not have that? Okay.
So for me, I think that doesn't work, because generally points should be geared towards competitive play. Between 2 average players having fun pushing models on the table, you can play power level, you can pay whatever you want, because the balance of an equal pointed army as a metric of balance only really matters at proper organized play.
You could also just talk to your friends, right? If your friend's smashing you with their rabbit, you can just be like, could you bring something else?
Right.
Whereas in a tournament, you can't do that. So
the problem with premium points for sub-factions is that Games Workshop have shown us since the Space Marine Codex came out, and everyone subsequently, they're going all in on this. Every faction is going to have at least 8 sub-factions, and they're all going to, and you're just, you can play your favorite lore thing, but we're not going to do that. We're going to play the one that's fucked. That's the one we're going to play. We're all Rapier Brotherhood. We're all Cult of Strife. We're all Lucius and Mars. It doesn't matter what color our shit's painted.
All it does is it changes the goalpost on which one's best based on the point.
Exactly. So you need to balance based on what the best sub-faction is anyway, because if you're not playing the best sub-faction, or a certain sub-faction becomes different, then you rebalance anyway. But you can't do this thing of, you need to pay extra points to use this sub-faction. It becomes far more complicated than it needs to be. What is there? Is there a percentage increase? Is there an overall premium one-time payment that you pay to use Cult of Strife in a detachment like this?
That sounds like the Skitarii Veteran Brotherhood. That's really balanced by having a points cost, right?
Well, so can I pick up on this a little bit? Unless Nick, did you have something?
I'll tell you why it's not balanced by the points cost, because the rules you don't really need them.
Yeah.
No, it's also because infiltrators don't pay anything to use it.
Nick, what were you saying?
I was going to say, because one of Innes's point is that the Games Workshop's release schedule and how they do things isn't quick enough to repair the damage that they're doing with the Codex releases. I think it would be a massively different story had they got a really good functioning app which worked how we all want it to, because then they can make micro changes at the drop of a hat. They don't have to rely on their release schedule. They just
and if that was just how you did all rules, to be honest, and you didn't have physical copies, you could just
it's a poor system anyway. Can I bring up? Sorry, Logan, after you go on.
Now go on, bro. I'm trying to form it.
So I think it's a structural issue, right? So I think Innes is right. I 100% agree. Just would like to say, you just go, cool, you can't have that, delete that, and twice as many points on these.
So are we using a collectible card game system where it's like, you know what? Because I saw Innes's tweet and we haven't actually pulled it up on the stream, I don't think. Cool. But it's like, here's one thing that you would just ban entirely: ban a warlord trait, ban a unit.
I don't even think you need to necessarily ban it. I just think you need to be more active with.
Just checking.
So I think this is the reason I have behind it is that, for as bad as it might sound to have a unit go up 50, 80, 100%, it's still not as bad as banning. And formats get away with banning all the time.
Exactly, and it's standard. It's standard.
Ban cards. And 40k has this weird thing where you can't change my toys because I have to get to use them.
So that is a problem in that, regardless of how seriously we take competitive play at all levels, everyone still paid a lot of fucking money to get our toys, and
so do Magic players.
But we also spent many hours putting these stupid fucking things together, and then we have to paint them as well. So when I do that for my flavor of the month army that I want to run at the tournament, that actually cost me 400 quid to buy and took me 100 hours to assemble, if that gets thrown in the toilet, it's super feel bad, and I understand that I want to avoid that.
I think it's worse in 40k as well, just very quickly, because 40k books tend to have like 40 to 50 units in them, whereas I'm playing out west, I'm like, I can always use my Mornfang and my Beast Riders. I've got like 12 units in this book.
This issue that we're talking about now is also all very reactive after the fact. I would be very interested to know what the process is for playtesting, because there's literally no way a lot of this stuff went through playtesting without some of the people that I know do playtesting having seen it.
It's like the rumor that Dark Lances went to D3+3 damage after playtesters had the book.
Well,
and they got Book of Fire and Dabbit Codex separately. Just stuff like that, where it's like, it's not a good playtesting process.
No,
obviously that's all.
Can I push the conversation into a broader context, because I think that it's worth having, because iteratively we're not that far into either of the two game systems. And what I mean by that is in Age of Sigmar we're in 6 years, and then 40k from I think we're into nearly 4 from 8th. Is it 4 from 8th or 5 from 8th? COVID has fucked me up. I think it's
2017. 8th was 2017.
So 4 and a bit. Okay, thank you. Yeah. All right, so but let's talk about the difference between the two systems. It's something like, if you play 40k, it's probably there's 3 to 4 times as big as Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar is still the second most played tabletop war game in the fucking world. Yeah. But 40k is far outstrips it, and you have to ask yourself why. And the lore is great, and the miniatures is great, and a bunch of other stuff. But specifically why? And I think one of the things that becomes very relevant right now is the talk of community comp. And if I'm just going to cycle back on that, the reason I brought up why the game systems I think are fairly new, but not new enough, is that Games Workshop themselves don't do a good job in either of the two game systems of balancing their game. End of conversation, and I think provable by all stats and metrics.
When 40k is good, it's an accident.
Yes, right?
Yeah. That's why I hate it when people say, codex creep and blah blah blah, because it's the biggest lie.
Biggest lie.
If they were good at codex creep, new units would be good, and old units. The best units in the Marine Codex wouldn't have been attack bikes and Vanguard veterans. It would have been Storm Speeder, Hellstrikes, and Gladiator Reapers.
100%.
Yeah. So
I'll explain the Orc Codex.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's a fluke.
Sheer dumb luck.
There's your explanation.
Yeah. So my point is we need to have a conversation about what's happened to 40k previously. Now, Tom, and maybe you're going to have a different opinion to me on this, but it does feel like the ITC, and also everything that happened with Reeves and Frankie and the LVO, this big marquee event, and even the LGT, going back 3-4 years, did a very, very good job of build, and also obviously the ETC, of course, leading into the WTC for Europe, did a really good job of actually growing and building the competitive community as a competitive game. Because leading up to 4 years ago, WTC/ETC had their own pack for community comp, as did ITC. Leading up to all the way to less than a year ago, they were comped games. This is the first time that the game isn't a comped game in a year.
WTC
this is the first time.
Actually,
pardon me?
Yeah. WTC still technically is, because it uses a differential format and it has its own FAQ.
Yeah, all right, thank you. So, WTC technically is. But, I would say that, the dominant format seems to be, ITC, tournaments for singles.
WTC also is running way more parallel to GW's.
Yeah, it's a lot closer than it's ever been.
Yeah, it's a lot of the WTC rulings then manifest themselves in GW FAQs, which happen at their glacial speed.
I don't know how that happens.
But I'm glad that it does. But my point is I don't think you can criticize. Wait, hold on. Let me get that wrong. Sorry, let me get that right.
We can always criticize.
No, what I'm saying is I think Games Workshop, but more importantly, the wider 40k community need to thank both the ETC WTC format and also the ITC format for actually growing and developing the community to such a huge degree. I don't think the game would be where it is now had people just like just fucking tried really hard with what looks like. I did some coverage of 7th edition. I know Innes and Tom, you loved it. Logan, I know you liked it as well. But I had not a fucking clue. I had not a fucking clue what was happening.
I liked it more than 8th edition, brother.
Fucking what was it? Like, I was like, what? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was confusing. So, right? But
I also want to big up Mike Brandt as well, because the Nova secondaries were really, really helpful at the time that they came around. They really helped balance massively mismatched matchups.
Okay, good.
In an era in which we were literally going, if I don't roll a 6 to C's here, I'm going to lose, so I'm going to deploy to C's.
Okay, yeah, fair.
Deploying to C's was a real thing, because that was fucking.
And I miss it.
Yeah, sometimes I used to give you counterplay. I mean, I hated C's. I got C's on loads, but you know.
But my point is like, I think all of those people need to be like thanked for developing, growing the competitive community. But now it's like, stop. It's like you're a kid. They've raised a bunch of kids, and they're like, look, off you go into the world. And then like the world's a fucking harsh and terrible place.
What it is, I like this analogy, Rob. It's basically the community is the dad, and Games Workshop are the toddler on the bicycle. We've been walking along with them, holding the back of the bicycle. We've let go, and they've gone down the street a little bit, and they're just about to crash.
Into a fucking car.
Let's pick them up again.
Where did Drakari drop? March? They crashed.
Yeah, they crashed. They crashed.
They crashed instantly.
So my point is because it's also a relevant conversation in the Age of Sigmar community as of this week. People put up a comp pack, which has been like kind of happened now and again, but not really, especially not for a competitive event, not for points adjustments. You're seeing armies that aren't as good getting points increases. My point is, gentlemen, like, you know, with the advocacy of like those things all being true, like, because Innes, do you think you're really going to get your nuclear option actually ever happen?
No. Not at all. It will never
would like it.
It should, but it won't. Yeah, we're never going to see it. We will see it on instances where they figure out that they can't balance an army. They only seem to do it to combat armies. They seem to be more than okay letting gun armies be good.
Well, I mean, I made this point a couple of weeks ago. Things like Tau and Admech, it's all about numbers, right?
Yeah.
So if the numbers are too high and they kill everyone, if the numbers are too low and they're shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's never going to be a middle ground with those kinds of armies. It's like trying to balance
That's just a fatal design flaw in how they put Tau together, because Tau being a gunline army is bad design. Same way Imperial Guard being a gunline army.
Gunlines are a bad design.
Exactly.
Yes, agreed.
Anything that doesn't like movement should be the most important phase in the game. If you build around that, then you generally have a skill-based thing, unless you know it's an army that gets every 17 times.
The worse the demand on TOs is for terrain, which is something that we're seeing constantly. The deadlier 40k gets over the years. Remember which terrain we played 7th edition on? You could like get by on like a box of cardboard and some spare ruins out of your garden. Nowadays it's like I've got like 400 ruins for these 20 tables. Maybe that'll be enough.
Yeah. Well, so my question is, and maybe kind of like the I know it was a long bit there, is like, what do you do as like a TO and also as a community leader? Like, let's say you have like a local club, or like I do, like a small venue where I can fit 16 players in. Like, do I really want some fucking guy with Admech come in? Like, truthfully, do I really want him to turn up and give everyone a shitty day? Like, we had Drukari here at the weekend, like 3 times, I think. I told this story a couple of times this week. One time paired into our Thousand Suns player got paired into Drukari twice, and he was like, I was like, that Magnus is fucked, and he was like, I know. And then he just managed to live like for 2 different games. I was like, this is great, and he was over the moon about it. He was like, this is really good. But my point is like, how do I genuinely sell tickets to people being like, hey, you can just come and get fucking dicked. Like, do you want to? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, how do you do coverage?
I mean, I'm into it. I'll come.
I'm at the point where I was almost tempted to say for the event that we've got this weekend to just say no Admech. I really was tempted. That's my point. I can't because we're using it for practice for other events. So like, I'm going to go to LGT and LGT aren't going to have no Admech, so I need to play against them because at a 400 player event that's not going to happen. But it's not good, man. It's not good. That was like the threat with Iron Hands with the Repulsors, was that there were events talking about banning the Iron Hand supplement, and that was one of the reasons that the FAQ
specifically the FAQ came out, because Reset on Frontline Gaming Signals from Frontline, he said we're going to ban them if nothing is done about it, which was the
I think gestures like that are really important, because in the same way in which, you know, the internet just drummed up the absolute ludicrous numbers that Drukhari were pulling in their first, you know, month of release, it forced them to do something about it. Those kind of things are the only, I feel like, Games Workshop care about to literally change course at any kind of reactive pace that's acceptable. So banning campaign books, you know, bringing in bans on units, anything like that, that's like that it gets the attention of the toddler and they turn around and stop peddling the trike. That, I feel, is actually going to be needed if they keep bringing out books that are as fucked as Admech and Drukhari were, which it doesn't look like they are, because Grey Knights and Thousand Suns are a little bit tame. They're not.
They're not Drukhari
compared to Admech and Drukhari. Yeah,
these would be really good books a year ago.
To be honest with you, like, the Sisters book is fucking sensational. I think it's really strong. I think it's got a tremendous amount of depth. Yeah. There's so many shenanigans you can put into it. It came out. No one really cares because it came out immediately after two books that you can dribble on yourself and play.
It removed all the feels bads from the previous codex, and the only thing it's left in is Bodyguard, which is just a 9th edition problem.
Well,
and is the Sisters Codex so good because they did a proper beta test? They did a beta codex, and then
this previous Sisters book came out like
third iteration
a bit ago.
Yeah, I mean, the Sisters is basically a balance patch, right? That's effectively what it is, because the codex came out so recently.
Some new units and a rebalancing and a reimagining of like cells.
So the LGT, we're doing coverage of the LGT, right? Admech won't be banned, nor Drukhari. So it's we almost expect that they're going to be there on the top tables towards the end of the event, right? So it feels like a foregone conclusion in some ways. But also, like, how in your local gaming group, how do you like genuinely, like, I you know, when you talk about the nuclear option in it, like, I don't think it's coming from Games Workshop, but it should come from the community. Like, they should just be like, cool, like, if you bring an Admech, you're only allowed 1,800 points. Like, I think this conversation has convinced me. I think this conversation has convinced me in our event packs that I'm just going to put no campaign books. I'm just going to put it in there. Like, and if some of us should be like, go on, after.
Got to be honest, with the no campaign books, there are some armies like Be'lakor especially just kind of doesn't exist without a campaign book, and that's a model that people want to use, right? He's a new cool thing. He's the only interesting thing Chaos have at the moment, near enough. Saying no campaign books removes a lot of stuff. It's just Admech and Cult of Strife. Those are the two things. That's not because of the armies because of Book of Strife and Book of Fire. That's because of Admech, and it's because of what they're building on. It's Drukhari and Admech are the problem. It's not the Book of Fire and the Book of Rust themselves. I think it's just a band-aid pattern. I don't think Drukhari get worse if you say you have to play point.
Because again, like you're saying, it's literally a roulette wheel of whether anything's good or not. You know, and
the Freeblade Lance terrible. So is the mechanic.
We said that as soon as they announced campaign books. I remember saying it on the show. You know, they're going to put, and we were just praying. We were praying that they were all shit and they never got used anywhere, because I don't want to have to carry 80 books with me to a.
I wanted them to be tactical deployment. I wanted them to be that. I wanted them to be fun narrative things.
Yes, like that stupid fucking terrain thing, exactly. Sadly they're not. Sadly, Cult of Strife is insanely good, so yeah, we have to pay attention.
But it's not even like the Drukhari would be bad without Cult of Strife, because realistically you lose like competitive edge is really the only thing. You lose the Nova strategy and the rules, which is you just play more Incubi and Core of the Archons. It doesn't change. It doesn't make the army worse. It just changes what's good. That's the problem, I think. And then there's also things like Freeblade Lance that give Knights like an actual viable build option for top level for competitive play. You've got Be'lakor rules, which are very interesting and actually not overtuned in the slightest. I don't think and need like so many FAQs that it's unreal. I don't think the campaign books are the problem. I think you have to address the core of the problem, which is the Admech and Drukhari codexes.
Yeah, and I was like I said this on the 500 show. In my opinion, like it's a complete lie that the game was ever balanced, ever. Like,
I feel like the game was not in a bad place before Drukhari came out. Top 10s were really diverse. There wasn't a clear top tier book, I don't think. It was debatable.
The game was better, but Dark Angels were a problem in that the effect they had on the meta was very problematic, even if they weren't winning things.
Dark Angels was the first book that came out where they clearly just went, here's the sack full of mechanics, everything goes in, and just pick the ones that you want, which are probably the best into the meta or the rule set or the mission, and you can pick from so many different options, and also you get the efficiency of marine stats.
It was just Bodyguard Talamasters. Why is Bodyguard just shouldn't exist?
No.
Well, my point was, sorry, I was going to say like that. Like I said on the 500 show, like I'm pretty okay with it. Like, and I don't mean like I'm okay that it's okay, because the problem doesn't really exist for the player, other than when they face it. The problem exists for the TOs and the community leaders. Like, if you're running a club, how do you really, like, the guy who's very excited about AdMech, how do you make that person feel okay? Like, and say, look, dude, when you come and play at the club and hang out, could you just sort your shit out and not like bring all the stuff? Like, and similarly, like, you're.
To be honest with you, I think the guy that just likes AdMech is he's not likely to bring a list. The
guy that's running like Corpus Gari and Five Mans and all the fun stuff. The AdMech they have a strong rule set. I don't think they're inherently problematic unless you build them to be it. But Games Workshop are really bad at balancing combos, is ultimately the core of it. And then the Dark Elder book is an aberration of data sheets.
Yeah, and then
AdMech is not super broken on data sheets, other than Ironsiders probably. Everything else is fairly fine. It's just the combos.
And then
it's the amount of buffs you can stack.
Also, then in which case,
which was always the problem with them anyway. To be honest with you, that was the problem in the last book, and they haven't really addressed that.
But in which case, it comes down to the TOs, right? Like, how do TOs make people have fun experiences? Like, or should they even should they ever try? Nick, like, I'm going to throw that question to you. Do you even think TOs should be trying? Like, it's weird, right? Like, because you're not responsible for the game, but you are responsible for the people appearing to play the game.
Yeah, if you're having an event with whatever 16 to 100 people, if you're the person putting that event on, you want everyone coming to have a great time. And if you know that there's going to be loads of people are going to have a shit game because there's just a couple of problem armies, I've been a TO for some very small niche events, not got the experience of like running proper full 40k events or big ones, but I imagine like you'd feel like responsible for that, so you want to do something. But if it's only you doing it, it comes. Because if you're just going to stand up on your own and do something, then you do risk like other people like maybe shouting you down or like saying, "Oh, that was a shit idea. Why'd you do that?" It
almost feels like it's conceited to think that you can balance the game better.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Are you just changing the goalposts? The thing that I have is like we've got one AdMech player coming for RGT this weekend, and he's playing 5 planes, and I keep looking at him like his 6 opponents are not going to have fun this event, and there's nothing I can do about that. As a TO, I'm not responsible for the balance of the game, and neither is the AdMech player. In fairness, he wants to win. He wants to play the army he's got. I can't begrudge him that. I can't tell him to sandbag and bring something that's like not going to win the event. I've played lists that are aiming to win events before, and they're not fun or fair for my opponent when I win either. AdMech is just beyond the pale of it's doing that more often than not.
It's just not even interactive, right?
Yeah,
like, that's
exactly.
the issue.
Well,
having a list
Innes,
of win events
when
is
you
a problem.
When you're at the event, just maybe watch some of his games and trying to find something that you can subjectively disagree with that breaks the spirit of the game.
Every round I'm going to walk around with my spare chess clock and just put it on his table.
Mate, just nudge his planes off the board slightly. Oh, it's gone off. It's destroyed, mate.
And I mean, obviously, I'm not going to do that. Please don't.
I don't know.
Please don't try and maliciously attack your players at tournaments. It's difficult, right? You can't. There's no one size fits all solution. We could just ban AdMech, but there's probably people coming to the event. Like, it's an expensive army. You might only have AdMech if it's your first army, and you don't want to buy another one because you just spent £17,000 on your one army with like 27 models.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's really difficult.
I agree. I think so. Just to cycle back to the beginning and maybe to close the conversation off, and to go to the analogy of letting the kids go, because it's the ITC that let the kids go, right? Like, they were the dad. They were like they're now in a business relationship with Games Workshop. So like there isn't like the thing grew because of that. Like, they again applaud and compliment and reward their input into growing the thing into this huge thing. Of course, like, you know, but it was on them. They were like, well, we'll ban Iron Hands, like, if you don't do something about it. And then something happened a week later. Like, but now they're not in that position, and no one is in that position. So it's. I tried to explain this to someone who's Warhammer interested but not a gamer, more of a painter, and my sentence was: imagine trying to produce a code of a cultural identity for a game with 0 leaders. Like, and they were like, that doesn't work. Like, someone has to take charge. Someone has to be a leader in that situation. It's like, no. Specifically, you have people saying, don't be leaders. Yeah?
Yeah, like WTC don't have any credibility yet, not because of anything they've done, but because they've not had an event before, and also they're based in Europe, so they're never going to catch on with the Americans just on that alone, near enough. The ITC's taken a massive step back. Mike Brandt's now involved with Nova. There's nobody to do it. Could we get Goonhammer to do it? That might... People hate Goonhammer.
To be honest with you, Goonhammer has been a catalyst.
I think it's Goonhammer.
There are some people who hate Goonhammer. It's really confusing.
Who hates Goonhammer?
But I don't know. There's always somebody on there who goes like,
surely you either like it or you're indifferent. I don't
there was one guy. This is a complete side talk, but there was a guy on one of the Reddit posts that was like, Goonhammer thinks it's the Guardian of 40k, but it's actually the Daily Mail. And I was just like, I mean, did they read the articles? No, I don't think so. But it just made me laugh. I'm like, how could you have so much hate in your heart for Goonhammer? It's not okay. They're perfect in every way. So yeah, Goonhammer could stand up and do it, and I think they'd be the only people that anybody with any value would listen to.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think there's any other community, and I don't think it's fair to expect Goonhammer to do that. Goonhammer write funny articles about the tournaments every week. That's not their thing. They're not game designers. They shouldn't be expected to do this.
Yep.
But I think they could just be like, yo, like Admech, you got to pay 200 extra points if you go to a tournament. Like, that's not even good enough.
They'd still win everything.
Yeah. Like...
I think one of the things that Goonhammer does really well is make competitive 40k really accessible, and I don't see how that could ever be something that's, you know.
I think the danger would be if Goonhammer's, again, this is an off topic, but if Goonhammer were to start forking the format, like in the literal sense of changing things, it would remove a big source of centralized information for how the game is played. True. And if Goonhammer start covering like events that covered their format or whatever like that, it would be a net negative for the game.
Of course.
But then the game's already a negative.
Yeah.
So I feel with Goonhammer, it's really useful for letting the wider community understand what the crux of the current competitive game is. And I would love to see Goonhammer just continue to report rather than try and lead.
I like their balanced editorials. I've been involved in a few of them, so I'm obviously biased on that. Like, I like when they stand up and say, things are not okay, here's how we think they should be fixed.
I don't mind that at all.
I don't think they should be saying this is how you should fix things yourself.
Exactly, or like this is the format or what have you.
But then who's the person making the suggestions? Because it's not Games Workshop.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter. I'll do it.
It is. I mean, let's be honest. It is a big cult of personality. Whoever's out there, and that's a big reason why WTC,
honest Wargamer,
no.
I think WTC.
You only take orcs. That's the comp. Only
WTC is a faceless organization by choice. You know, if I asked 95% of American gamers who Tom Adriani or Neil Kerr were, they probably would have no idea who the names were. They might have heard of WTC because of the FAQ somewhere or what have you, or the TTS boards that people were playing during lockdown. There's just not enough marketing being done for WTC.
Yeah, and there was
enormous amounts of there's enormous amounts of marketing done for ITC. Reese is out there doing podcasts, putting his face out there, video content. You know, that stuff they're amazing in America. Like, it's the same in everything. Like, you know, in esports, it's incredibly difficult to be a content creator in anything that has American presence because they just fucking crush you with their wider reach.
Well, why? Like, there's your suggestion. Just do Eurocomp. Just make it a 2-state fucking like game.
You can't do that because yes, Neil, I do listen to Squadcast. There's no marketing behind Squadcast. Firstly, that should be video. If you want my honest feedback, Squadcast could be video. You need to have way more presence on social media for Squadcast. You need to have an updated web page with fucking content and articles on it off the back of Squadcast. every week without fail. You need to be addressing talking points on social media so people are interacting you and finding Squadcast. But yes, I do listen to Squadcast. I do like it. Big up Tom and big up Neil. I love you as well.
Yeah.
The problem
Also go to
is,
an event and cheat and then get loads of...
the
Oh,
problem
I should do that. Fuck.
Eurocomp exists. It's called WTC, right?
Yeah.
I was actually going to tournaments. I know it's a shocking thing. I was actually going to a tournament at a point in which we were playing an entirely different game from the Americans because we had modified Maelstrom.
No, I saw you there.
And they were playing whatever the fuck they were playing in America. We were playing different games. We were playing different games, basically. Yeah. I don't really want to be in that situation. I would love to be in a situation where we do have a universally accepted format, because I think it's better for everybody.
It would also split the UK. It would, like, the UK especially would get split by that, which is why it's difficult, because we have a lot of ITC events that run on that. It wasn't the case a few years ago when, like, Cali Uprising and stuff like that were the biggest events in the UK. It's not the case now.
Because you guys
we don't
just
get away
wanted
with
to
that.
go and do ETC practice, and everything was ETC FAQ rules.
But the game has grown to a point where the people who go to tournaments now aren't just the people who are practicing for ETC.
Yeah, but Zach is doing
much
his
bigger
own
than that.
tournament points, right?
So
Yeah, but he's also doing them for ITC.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're his own points to have his own localized rankings, which is great, but the format isn't particularly different. And that's the thing. Like, as anything grows, you need to realize that worldwide culture is actually American culture. I've realized that in music, I've realized that in fashion, I've realized that in esports.
Cultural imperialism.
It's the truth, though.
Yes,
Whatever
I know. I
is-
disagree with you. Yep.
Yeah.
We are
whatever-
wearing their blue jeans and listening to their pop music.
Whatever is standardized in America becomes standardized everywhere else if you speak English, and that's just that's just the rules of it. I am wearing a Nike T-shirt that says London on it. I understand the hypocrisy of that. However, whatever the Americans are pushing out there and churning out, the majority of the fat middle that we've been, talking about, they're going to be consuming that more so. They're going to be consuming European content. I see that in literally everything I do, and it will be the same in this. So it would just be good if we could all work together.
Yeah, 100%.
We need to infiltrate the Americans then somehow.
We do.
just need
Let's
to
send
move over
Tom,
to
because
America.
We need to do like an in-betweeners film, but for 40k with 4 dudes going to America to
We
smash.
need to get a Brit in the Art of Warhouse. That's what we really need.
Yeah. I'll go. I'll do a shit job. Just pay me money. And I'll feed me fucking your shit food, and I will go.
It's fucking good. I love the food, man.
Oh fuck!
Why in
I'll
America?
come back with diabetes.
What?
Portions are good.
Have you seen the food?
Yeah.
No.
I'm not gonna lie. I come back from America every single time I go, and my piss looks like Lucasade for a month. Every single fucking time. It doesn't matter how clean I try and eat as well. It always happens.
Dude, the UK does have chip, but
the high fructose corn syrup in the bread.
yeah.
Probably.
Well, listen, a great conversation. Thanks, Nurgle Matthew, for the gifts of your fucking babe. Interesting, lively, no actual answers. Normally, you meant to the emotional context of a podcast or a show like this is you should try and end on a solution.
Use the fucking Australian system when they do whatever that reverse Swiss pairing is. There you go.
Let's
Brilliant.
bring Swedish comp back.
Still no solutions. And because of that, it will be a leadless, rudderless boat, which we're all attached to because of our love and care for it. But I personally vote for Innes being in charge.
Can I do one last thing?
When we go to tournaments in Amsterdam, would that then be a Dutch rudder? Just asking.
No, it would be a Swiss Dutch rudder.
Okay.
I one last thing I need Innes to tell
I
Jim
see you,
about.
Nick. There you go, Nick.
I need Innes to tell Jim about deep fried Mars bars.
Okay, so you take a Mars bar and then you roll it around in like fish batter. You don't necessarily need to like change the oil. You probably should. You don't. And then you just deep fry the absolute living F out of that, and then you eat it for a meal. It's about 17,000 calories. I had one when I was 12. I can still feel it in my aortas. I had a friend in high school who ate 2 a week. I'm pretty sure he's dead now.
Oh, Jesus.
My favorite thing when I did a DJ gig in Edinburgh, and they had I'd never seen it before. They had a row of chocolate bars and sweets in the fish shop, and I'd never seen it. Why would they have Kinder Buenos and Twixes and That's an interesting thing. I know they sell fizzy drinks, but why the different chocolate bars? They had a menu. They had a menu of deep fried chocolate bars. I think in some of them you can take anything you want in, and they'll deep fry it for you as well.
There was a deep fried called the caterpillar cake when that was a thing.
Wait, is that the one that was hostage?
The real one though. It's an actual meal that you eat is a pizza crunch, and I'm going to leave that one up to you guys to like go and Google. It is phenomenal. It's the most Scottish thing I can possibly think of. Is the
more so than Iron
Brew? Shit! What am I looking at?
So yeah, a pizza crunch is you take a pizza, you fold it in half, you deep fry it, and that's your dinner.
Yeah, okay. Well, listen, I'm gonna go and eat a salad because I feel like I've got fatter listening. Is what I'm gonna say, and I ain't getting any younger. Thank you to all 4 of you for being on the show. Nick, Logan, Innes, Tom. Have you guys got any shout outs before we head out today? Start with you, Nick.
Shout out to Manny and Mikey.
Oh yeah, shout out to them.
Because the reason why I've got this background is because I feel sorry for Manny for if he's at all been villainized over this thing. Because in my opinion, the thing that he did was acting within the rules as written, and he was just doing what he did to win. People might not like it, just like this incident pictured, but yeah, it was just
dodgy is not illegal.
Yes, there you go.
Okay, yeah. Logan, shout outs.
All of the soft cunts on the internet that pretended that they were deeply offended by Manny. Shout out to you, bunch of fucking pricks.
Straight from London, that is. That's straight from London. It is you.
I will give a shout out to Nargo Matthew, who has been in the chat, being very active and also gifted like 100 subs today. So thank you. I was looking at the thing; it said 677 subs gifted by him total. So well done. I think you have donated more than I earn in a year on that. So like,
yeah, appreciated. Incredible. Thank you.
Oil money.
Yeah.
Oil money.
Tom.
I've already done mine, but I do need to just say before we go, I will not be here next week. So tune in.
In fact,
anyway
next week it'll just be me and Nick next week for a big special show.
Yes.
So we'll talk more about that in the week as time goes on.
Special.
Yeah,
the big special.
My shout out Twitch chat. Your class and whatever you think of this, I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments in it. And if you're one of those people who's offended by the show, we probably don't like you already, so probably don't leave your opinion anywhere.
Leave your feedback.
Ban Admec
with @Innes Wilson.
Yeah, on Twitter.
Yeah,
that's
follow him.
cocktails.com.
Then DM him all the shit.
Personally, I vote for Innes to write the compacts. Just saying. I don't know if anyone disagrees with that, but Nick's got the vote. Logan, Tom.
No, he's too late. He's doing it now. There's no vote.
Okay, we've agreed. There you go. So, thanks, Innes. Okay, compacts coming from there.
Cheers, Innes.
Okay, right. You're all brilliant. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to us, Wargamer. See you guys soon. Bye.